will now come to order. The purpose of the meeting is to discuss the Mansfield.
This is a special council.
Oh, so you do it the same way, it's not just a special
Okay,
meeting. I'm
all
sorry.
right, this special meeting of the Mansfield City Council will now come to order. The business conducted at this meeting will be for the purpose of discussing bill number 182, 12-182. So can you stand for the pledge?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The clerk will now read the roll.
Mrs. Hendrick? Here. Mrs. Perry? Here. Mr. Hazen?
Here.
Mrs. Hightower?
Here.
Mr. Hill?
Here.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Rock?
Will he be excused?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same.
Mr. Mears?
Here.
And President Scott,
Here.
acting mayor.
Okay, since this is a special meeting, we will not have the reading of the journal or the communications. Does anyone wish to speak to council?
Good evening. My name is William Baker. I reside at 525 McPherson Street, Mansfield, Ohio, 44903. Grateful that we are having this special session tonight. I wanted to make a quick mention that there is a local issues forum scheduled for Monday evening at the public library, and so she's distributing some flyers for that. This is open to the public. It's a neutral forum to discuss 4 of the primary issues that are on the ballot. The levy for the library, levy for the city of Mansfield, the school renewal levy, and Amendment A, the Bill of Rights. And thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak to council? If not, Acting Mayor, would you have anything to say? Oh. Law Director,
Not at this time.
okay, thank you. We'll proceed and we'll call on Mrs. Pender for the suspension of the rules.
I move with respect to all bills that come before council this evening, the rules requiring reading on 3 different days be suspended, that each bill be read one time by title only.
Second.
Okay, Councilman, I'll cast their vote for the nays. Yea or nays for the suspension. Okay, 7-0. So now we'll proceed with legislation. Okay, Ms. Kennedy?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that Bill 182 be read and placed on the floor for discussion.
Second.
It's been moved in second. The clerk will now read the bill.
The Mansfield moratorium of injection wells.
Yes, I believe the law director, Director Vaughn, is going to explain this legislation to us. Director Vaughn.
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm very appreciative of City Council coming for this emergency meeting. The purpose for which it would be declared as an emergency is, as you know, recently we had a lawsuit in federal court in Cleveland. It was brought by a company called Preferred Fluids Management. They had obtained 2 permits for the construction and operation of injection wells in our industrial park. As a result of the successful defense of that case, at least on one of the issues, that is the issue of whether or not they had an active permit, they decided to withdraw their case, and expecting, in my opinion, that the court will dismiss their case because their permit had expired. That does not preclude the same company or any other company from applying for an additional permit. That could happen at any time. It could happen tomorrow, could happen at the next day. And the purpose of this proposed ordinance is to give the city time to protect its industrial park. We have an excess of 80 industrial and manufacturing and other companies in our industrial park. It is one of the most valuable economic and business aspects of our community. It is a business community that we can be proud of and for which we have a duty to preserve. We know historically and scientifically that the operation of an injection well has produced seismic events and earthquakes, not only in Youngstown, but in various parts of the world as well as our country. We also know scientifically that it's not necessarily just wells that pertain to the oil and gas industry. History has shown that any substantial number of deep drilling for wells in any particular community can create seismic events. In fact, just last week, they had a 5.0 Richter scale earthquake in Spain, which they attribute to prolonged drilling for water. So for the same reason that we wouldn't consider possibly approving an ammunition manufacturing plant or some type of radioactive operation, we need to carefully consider what type of activities should be permitted in our industrial park. This ordinance would say that in order to determine what type of activity, we need time. And because we know that there's going to be the onslaught of the fracking industry heading from the eastern part of the state of Ohio westward, and we know that at least one or more companies wants to transport millions of barrels of fracking fluid from the state of Pennsylvania, which has banned injection wells, and even possibly from the state of New York, which has banned injection wells, we need time to determine what is appropriate in our industrial park. It's really common sense. It's really, as I studied and became educated in terms of these issues, you start stepping back and saying, does it make sense that we would allow an industry in our industrial park which could produce an earthquake? If there's an earthquake, there could be millions of dollars of damage to an industrial park. It certainly would discourage the future of our park. And an injection well operation is really quite juxtaposed and different than what we'd ever projected from the inception of the plan of our industrial park. It poses a risk for the future and would discourage future development of the park. So, for that reason, this ordinance really says that we are hoping that our people will historically pass our charter amendment. We'd be the first city in the state of Ohio, I believe, where the voice of the people, by popular vote, adopts with one vote a statement that we say no to injection wells without the consent of our city council, which means without the consent of our people. This ordinance would say that if any entity applies for an injection well permit in our industrial park, and if the Ohio Department of Natural Resources approves that permit, nevertheless, we have at least 1 year to develop reasonable regulations to protect ourselves. One of those I would suggest from a common sense level is if a company wants to come in and attempt to dump millions of barrels of toxic fluid in our industrial park, we have a right to say, well, you can't do that until we acquire an extensive geological study involving potentially geological borings throughout our industrial park. Why would we want to do that? We want to find out what's there. Do we have any abandoned wells there? Do we have any aquifers that are there that we didn't know about? Do we have any faults there that could present a problem? We have a right to know that. This is not a blanket prohibition. This is simply saying we have a right to do a study which the Ohio Department of Natural Resources has not done to protect our business community. And an additional reason, as stated in the ordinance, is that because we are in a fiscal emergency, we do not have the monies to pay for such a study. It could be very, very expensive, and the geological borings could be very extensive. And because we are in financial fiscal emergency, it would take time for us to apply for public and private grants in order to obtain the monies to do a study which is reasonable, rational, and really should be done. And therefore, that would require additional time. And therefore, and I'm recommending and suggesting, we should protect our industrial park from the potential of earthquakes. We should promote our industrial park, not poison it. And for that reason, this emergency legislation, based upon the precedent of at least one Supreme Court of the United States decision in 2002, basically establishes that our city has a right to reasonably protect itself by reasonable regulation. And the adoption of those regulations, the implementation of those regulations require time. And certainly, it's in the best interest for the city to continue to protect a business community for which we are very, very proud.
Thank you, Attorney Spahn. Is there any discussion?
Thank you.